Well, hello there, tankers of the Blitz universe. I'm Flossie, and today I will be reviewing the VK90. Now, this tank has a very interesting playstyle, and I can sum it up in one word: side scrape. Yes, this tank is a absolute beast at side scraping, and I'll get into that more a little bit later. But first, a short announcement. If you here have not subscribed yet to the channel, I mean, we are 5 subs away from hitting 1K. And once I do hit 1K, I will be doing a live stream. Trying not to actually die inside while playing this game. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Anyways, with that little bit of nonsense out of the way, let's get right into the tank's stats. Starting off with the gun, it deals 460 damage on its standard shells, 390 on the premium, and 600 on the high explosive. For the tank's penetration, it has 289 millimeters of standard, 336 APCR, and 72 HE pen. So 336 APCR is not all that great for a tier 10 heavy, and some tanks you will actually struggle to pen through, but for the most part it's okay. As for the tank's accuracy, it has an aim time of 4.3 seconds with a dispersion of 0.326. And paired with the tank's special mechanic, which is combat stabilization, this thing is actually pretty accurate when you're moving at slow speeds. As you can see here, if you are moving at less than 15 kilometers an hour forwards or backwards, your reticle will not get any larger than what it's at currently. So basically, if you are in a side scraping position and you're wiggling your tank or moving it back and forth, your reticle will stay fairly small. So that's really good for you, actually. And this mechanic overall helps this tank quite a bit. The tank also carries 10 degrees of gun depression. Now, I'll get into this when I break into the armor, but the gun depression does not work fully over the front of the tank. Again, I'll explain a bit more later, but yes, it does have 10 degrees in some places. As for the top speed and overall mobility, the tank goes 30 forward and 15 in reverse. So 15 reverse speed is not that bad. It's kind of average, and 30 forward is okay. I mean, this is a German super heavy after all, so don't expect to be flying into the front line with this thing. Now, taking a look at the armor profile of this tank. You can see here I have an IS-4 as my benchmark, as I always do in my armor reviews, and it is using calibrated shells. So you can see while using AP, the IS-4 has an extremely hard time penning this tank, and this tank does have a lot of frontal armor. You can see here the upper plate is 350, 340-ish millimeters of armor, depending on where you're shooting at it. You can see this little flat bar has less armor. And the turret also has an insane amount of armor, especially AP shells. You just won't be able to go through it. And even the hatch, like, okay, there's this tiny little slit with AP that you can sometimes pen if you're extremely lucky. But for the most part, you're not penning this thing front on with AP unless you are able to see its lower plate. However, this tank is, again, really good at side scraping. So if you're in a side scraping position, yeah, good luck penning the thing's lower plate, especially if it's hiding its lower plate behind a building. I wish you good luck trying to pen this thing with AP. Now, if we switch over to heat shells, you can see here the lower plate is quite a big weak spot, even while in a side scraping position. Like, you can't really angle it to prevent shells from penning you. It's you're gonna get cut through in the lower plate quite easily, and especially the side armor only works to a certain angle, so you don't want to over angle your sides, and that's the main thing to think about when you're using this tank. Is although you can side scrape effectively, it's only to a certain angle. And we also see here that while using heat, tanks that have high pen premium can just go straight through your turret cheeks, and your hatch is now a weak spot. So be mindful of that. Now, as I was saying before, the gun depression, you can see here, it doesn't work over the front. It only has like, what, 4 degrees over the front, which is awful. So in order to get the 10 degrees, you need to position your gun onto the side of the tank here. It has to be over the side to use its max amount of gun depression. And you can see here, it's 10 degrees up until about this angle here, where it starts to slowly decrease to its 4 degrees of gun depression. So again, if you are trying to work hull down spots or ridge lines, I mean, first off, that's not really the tank's playstyle, but if you are trying to do that and you are trying to like side scrape on a map like Mines or something, you're gonna have to over angle your tank a little bit in order to get your gun down. And against certain heavies or tank destroyers that have lots of pen, that's a bit of a dangerous thing to do. The last thing I will talk about is, you see here how if you slightly angle the turret, it is a easy pen. I see a lot of VK players like thinking that this is an E100 turret, and they try and like angle their turret, and you can just pen it right through. So you want to keep your turret facing your opponents at all times. And that's really the only way you're going to have a strong armor profile. And you can see with heat, it's even worse. Like even the slightest angling of the turret means that you can get a pen right in. But yeah, overall, the armor profile is quite good on this tank, but you do need to know how to use it in order to effectively use it. So now with that out of the way, let's get into some gameplay. So again, I'm hoping to get onto a map that has good side scraping positions. So a map like Himmelsdorf would be pretty nice, or a map like Dynasty if I go town, or any other of those like town-based maps are pretty solid for this tank. And actually, even maps that aren't town-based, like let's say I get Wintermal, I can always go corner and use my gun depression and a little bit of my side scraping capabilities to kind of work hills. It's a little bit of an awkward tank to use if you're not used to side scraping. Still waiting. It's been a minute 20. I love this waiting time. Oh, here we go. We're finally in a game. And we're on Rockfield, which is, it's an interesting map for this tank because, yes, you can use your gun depression, but there's no, like, real, like, buildings to hide yourself behind. So you do have to be a little bit more cautious, and you have to try and use the rocks. Hopefully our team does go the correct way, which is towards Seaside. But we will see. And yes, they in fact are. Going that way. So I will be able to use my my side scraping capabilities on these rocks over here. And you can see here, since we are moving at our top speed of 30, the orange like circle, half circle that's around our reticle, that means that our dispersion is going to be quite bad. And that's basically what the mechanic is it only makes your dispersion really nice and good, like nice when you're moving, again, like I said, below 15 kilometers an hour. So we're going to make our way on over towards where this WZ is sitting. And it doesn't look like their team is actually here. So as I say that, I'm actually probably going to move. Oh, hello, Batchat. I wonder if this guy's going to try and run. Now, unfortunately, that shell just completely misses him. It would have been nice to pen him there, and it should have, but oh well. So we're going to make our way over to where I can see this 4005. And we're going to get one shell into him. That almost actually missed as well. Yeah, for now, we're just going to hold this kind of corner and keep spotting and waiting for these heavies to make moves like this VK72. Now, I'm not going to rush my shell into him, so I'm going to wait till he crosses the next opening, and I get a nice slap into him. And we also see their Caro has moved up extremely aggressive, and oh my gosh, he just got absolutely deleted. And oh my gosh, their whole team is just getting deleted. They keep poking to try and shoot at that Hori. And yeah, it's not working for them. So you can see here the Batchat is on my side. And unfortunately, my reload is just not fast enough to actually shoot him. But, well, I was hoping to get a shell into the 4005. But you can see here the gun's kind of troll. And I mean, it's not like horrible, but it's not exactly the best either. It's definitely better than the MAUS gun, though. And comparing this tank to something like the MAUS, this thing I would actually say has more armor than the MAUS, especially since the turret is just straight up smaller. And so it's going to be harder to actually pen this thing than something like the MAUS. Now their Batchat YOLOs and actually dies, and our team is doing quite horribly right now. We're not down too many more tanks than their team, but our Sheridan is probably going to die anytime now. And actually, nice. I was going to say, hopefully that guy dies, the 4005. And actually, hopefully this VK dies as well. Wow, our TDs are doing a really good job of clearing up these low HP tanks. Now I'm going to get into a side scraping position, and wow, Grill is still back there apparently. Interesting. So I'm not going to peek that anymore because their Grill is still back there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not trying to get shot at by the Yag and the Grill. And you can see there, I don't have the gun depression to really shoot at the Yag until I angle my side. Again, one of the big downsides of this tank is a lack of gun depression over the front. So the Yag gets finished off, and all that's left is the T-57 and the Grill who shot at us earlier. Now, unfortunately, that one I don't really know where it hit, and that's a bit annoying. Ah, yes, I'm clearly a nub. Oh, yes. clearly. Alright, well, I'm going to basically try and get this 57 to stay in front of me, because that's my best hope of getting bounces. This thing in a face hug is not terrible, but the 57 has a ton of pen. So I'm not actually going to be all that surprised if he does get pens into me. And yeah, this is not looking good. Hopefully I can clear him before he kills me. Now, unfortunately, that grill does pick me up, but we dealt 3,700 damage, and hopefully our E3 can just win this game on cap. And just like that, we do come out with a win. Our E3 does manage to pick up the grill, although that was a little bit scuffed, but yeah. A pretty nice victory for us, and just like that, let's see the score. We get, load us in, there we go, 3,671 damage, doing top on the team in our first game. So not a bad game. I mean, that was more of just a camp and shoot the enemy team as they cross in the open because they go the wrong side of the map game, more than an actual effective game to use our side scraping. But you can see there, like face hugging something like a T57, you're not really going to get that many bounces because he can just pen straight through my cheeks, and there's nothing I can really do about that, even if I'm trying to gun block him, because the T57 just has crazy good heat pen. For our second battle, we are on Black Goldville, and this is an okay map. I'm going to maybe try and go caves, which is far corner on the right there. And that would basically lock off all the medium tanks from being able to push my team. But I really hope that this team doesn't play too passive on this map. I find that teams have a big, bad tendency to play extremely passive on this map, like this T92 E1. And then when you lose the cave, your team basically just dies instantly and gets overrun, because taking this cave is actually really important for winning the battle if your teams do both go this side. So I'm going to try and help out this Progetto, and luckily we have our Yag Tiger going up here as well. Now, I wish this T92 would stop camping and actually come up and help, but oh well, he has other ideas. So yeah, oh my goodness. Luckily, that grill actually does bounce us, and what I'm going to do is get myself into a very aggressive position to shoot at this grill. And unfortunately, he is not running Spall Liner, but we do miss that HE. We don't really pen him with that, which is annoying, to say the least. And wow, our team is already dying. So yeah, I'm just going to hold this corner to the best of my abilities. And you can see here the side scraping on this tank is absolutely amazing. The Emil only pens one of his shells into us. And just like that, we get more bounces from the 50 TP, not 53 TP. Yeah, and we're just going to keep holding this corner. I'm going to put on my adrenaline in case this Emil tries to poke me again. There we go. You can see a nice max roll for 575. And the alpha on this tank of 460 is really quite nice. It really just allows you to get juicers into your enemy opponents, and you can basically out-trade a lot of tanks with this thing. Especially when you're in a side-scraping position like this, the enemy team cannot do a whole lot. And you can see here, they are really, really struggling, and they basically can't dig me out of this position. This position is extremely strong in this tank, especially when their whole medium flank pushes way too aggressively on this side of the map. You can see there, yeah, they couldn't really do anything. And let's see if I can angle back towards where this chieftain can't really hit me. You can see there, our team is still just falling apart. Whoa. I love my teammates. Hopefully we can finish off the Emil, and we do actually get a nice clearing shot into him. And I'm going to use this dead carcass to try and shield myself from this 50 TP. And actually I can shoot at him at the same time. Unfortunately for us, though, he's kind of annoying me right now. So I'm going to push this chieftain because I do just want to get this guy out of the corner and really just get him out of a position where both of these guys can actually shoot at me. So I'm going to shoot at this chieftain again. And at this point, I'm really hoping that that E4 is able to help me out. Luckily, I don't need the E4's help. Our Yag helps me out. Thank you, Yag. And now this 50 TP is in a bad spot because he's all alone. And hopefully, he actually does miss that shell too. I was going to say hopefully he bounces, but apparently I don't even need him to bounce because he just missed. So yeah, we're already at 5,000 damage, and you can see just how strong the tank is in a position where you can just haul down, or not haul down, but side scrape. And unfortunately, I was thinking that would be an easy pen into his hatch, But seeing as it's not, I am going to use my gun depression and try and get to an angle where I can actually get my gun down enough to see him. And we do pick up that kill. And all that's left is this WZ. And luckily for me, even if I do die, which I probably won't, but our T95 or our T92E1 has full health. And he's just basically going to ram him and then shoot him and kill him. And just like that, that's 5,500 damage. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to say about that game. That was an absolutely amazing showcase of what the tank can do in a side-scraping position. Even if you're not on a map with lots of buildings, like, you don't need to be on a town map necessarily to do well. And you can see there we blocked 2,600 damage and actually dealt 5,700, doing easily top on the team. Absolutely amazing game. And we're going to do one more, just because, why not? So yeah, in my opinion, this tank is definitely worth picking up if you do have the extra gold laying around. I believe this tank does usually come out for a set gold price of like 15,000. And honestly, the only thing that I would say this tank needs is PBR now at this point. I'm not sure if Wargaming would change the armor profile on this tank if they gave it PBR. Hopefully they don't, but yeah, we'll see what happens. And yeah, I actually just realized that my camera has been blocking the map again. I need to keep reminding myself to not keep my camera in the corner there. It's a little bit hard for me to remember when I'm yapping on about tanks straight after I start recording. So yeah, at least for this last game you will see the map. But yeah, unfortunate for you guys, you can't see the map in the first two games. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. I'll learn to move my camera properly eventually. But here we are, we're on Ghost Factory, and I'm making my way towards medium side because I can use at least some of my gun depression and side scrape abilities to kind of go hull down in a way. But, oh, I was going to say that it looks like their team's not here, but they actually are here. They are just taking their sweet time, and our team is being really aggressive. Now, that kind of worries me, simply because when your team is being this aggressive and their team is just kind of camping, it usually either goes a steamroll one of two ways. Your team steamrolls theirs, and or their team steamrolls yours. And right now it's looking like our team is steamrolling theirs. This leopard got nuked, and their 140's already dead. So I'm just trundling along at my 30km/h top speed towards where this leopard is. And he's probably going to die, actually. Unfortunately, my gun depression was not enough there. I didn't angle my tank enough to use the gun depression. But yeah. Here we're going to try and shoot at this WZ, but unfortunately he has a lot of armor, and that thing is absolutely ridiculous in the armor profile department. So what I'm going to try and do is use the corner of this this guy here. Now, unfortunately, I just realized now that he can see my lower plate, and that's really unfortunate because I was really hoping that that 140 would be a good shield for my tank, but I noticed that he could actually see underneath my tank. And we're getting nuked by the grill now from our rear, which is also not fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself in a side-scraping position. Hopefully this E100 doesn't target me. I know he can for sure see me, but I really need to use this building to side-scrape from whatever's showing up behind us. And now we have the E3 off to our side, and this is not looking too good for me. I'm kind of in a situation where I'm three-way crossfired right now. And I really need to, we need to kill this E3 basically. And luckily he does get tracked, and I do pick up the kill on him. So this game was looking like a steamroll from our team's perspective, but it actually ended up being quite scuffed. And yeah, there's not much else to say about that. I'm going to get one nice high roll into the E5. And just like that, there's only 2 tanks left. So I'm going to maybe get a ram into the grill. That was a juicy 68 damage of ram. That really wasn't much of anything. But, yeah, I mean, that game wasn't anything impressive, but luckily we were able to pull out another win. So 3 wins in a row, not a bad result for this tank. And, I mean, we didn't do the craziest amount of damage. We only did 2,600. Nothing like that second battle. But, yeah, still pretty good showcase of this tank on a medium side kind of map. But anyways, I mean, final thoughts about this tank. I think it's fantastic, and it always has been fantastic. I do, again, think this tank is better than the MAUS simply because it is so much smaller. You can see here how big the MAUS is, and the lower profile of this tank mixed with the fact that you have more gun depression technically over the side, just makes this tank a lot more effective when it comes to side scraping. But yeah, anyways, for any of you out there who haven't yet subscribed, I highly recommend you do so, and it's a good way to support the channel, as we are, again, 5 subscribers away from 1K. And yeah, hopefully I will see you later. Bye-bye.